Section 13, Volume 2 of the Book of 1000 Nights and a Night. Translated by Richard Burton. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Reading by Lars Rolander. The Book of 1000 Nights and a Night, Volume 2, Section 13. When it was the 47th night, she said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when the young lady asked Zat al Dawahi, by the truth of the Messiah, wilt wrestle with me or dost jest? And she answered, Yea, I will wrestle with thee in very deed." Sharrkan looking on the while, the damsel cried, "Rise up for the fall, an thou have spunk so to do." When the old woman heard this she raged with exceeding rage, and her body hair stood on end like the bristles of a fretful hedgehog. Then she sprang to her feet, whilst the damsel stood up to her and said, "Now by the truth of the Messiah, I will not wrestle with thee unless I be naked, mistress whore." So she loosed her petticoat trousers and putting her hand under her clothes tore them off her body, then twisted up a silken kerchief into cord shape, girt it round her middle, and became as she were a scald head Ifritah or a spotted snake. With this she inclined towards the damsel and said, "Do thou as I have done." All this time Sharrkan was gazing at the twain and laughing at the beldam's loathly semblance. So the damsel leisurely rose and, taking a sash of Yamani stuff, passed it twice round her waist. Then she tucked up her trousers and displayed two calves of alabaster carrying a mound of crystal, smooth and rounded, and a stomach which exhaled musk from its dimples, as it were a bed of Nu'uman's anemones, and breasts like double pomegranates. Then the old woman leant towards her and the two laid hold either of each, while Sharrkan raised his head heavenwards and prayed Allah that the bell might beat the beldam. Presently the young woman get beneath the old woman and, gripping her waist cloth with the left and circling her neck with the right hand, hoisted her off the ground with both, whereupon the old woman strove to free herself and, in so doing, fell on her back arsiversy, with her legs high in air and her hairy bush between them showed manifest in the moonshine. Furthermore she let fly two great farts, one of which blew up the dust from the earth's face and the other steamed up to the gate of heaven. Sharrkan laughed till he fell back upon the ground. Then he arose and, baring his brand, looked right and left, but he saw no one save the old woman sprawling on her back, and said to himself, "He lied not who named thee Lady of Calamities. Verily thou knewest her prowess by her performance upon the others." So he drew near them to hear what should pass between them. Then the young lady went up to the old one and, throwing a wrapper of thin silk upon her nakedness, helped her to don her clothes and made excuses, saying, "O my lady Zat al Dawahi, I intended only to throw thee and not all this; but thou triedst to twist out of my hands, so laud to Allah for safety." She returned her no answer, but rose in her shame and walked away till out of sight, leaving the handmaids prostrate and pinioned, with the fair damsel standing amongst them. Quoth Sharrkan to himself, "Every luck hath its cause. Sleep did not fall upon me nor the war horse bear me hither save for my good fortune. For doubtless this maid and what is with her shall become booty to me." So he made towards his steed and mounted and heeled him on, when he sped as the shaft speeds from the bow, and in his hand he still held his brand bare of sheath, which he brandished, shouting the while his war cry, "Allah is Almighty!" When the damsel saw him she sprang to her feet and, taking firm stand on the bank of the stream, whose breadth was 6 ells, the normal cubits, made one bound and landed clear on the farther side, where she turned and cried out with a loud voice: "Who art thou, O thou fellow that breakest in upon our privacy and pastime, and that too hanger in hand as if charging a host? Whence camest thou and whither art thou going? Speak sooth, for truth will stand thee in good stead, and lie not, for lies come of villain breed. Doubtless thou hast wandered this night from thy way, that thou chancest upon this place, whence escape were the greatest of mercies, for thou art now in an open plain, and did we shout but a single shout, would come to our rescue 4,000 knights. So tell me what thou wantest, and if thou wouldst only have us set thee on the right road, we will do so." When Sharrkan heard her words, he replied, "I am a stranger of the Moslems, who fared forth this night single handed, seeking for spoil; nor could this moonlight show me a fairer booty than these 10 maidens; so I shall seize them and rejoin my comrades with them." Quoth she, "I would have thee know, that as for the booty thou hast not come at it; and as for the handmaids, by Allah they shall never be thy spoil. Have I not told thee that to lie is villain vile?" Quoth he, "The wise man is he who takes warning by others." Thereupon quoth she, "By the truth of the Messiah, did I not fear that thy death would be on my hands, I would shout a shout should fill the mead for thee with war steeds and with men of might; but I take pity upon the stranger. So if thou seek booty, I require of thee that thou alight from thy steed and swear to me, by thy faith, that thou wilt not advance against me aught like arms in hand, and we will wrestle, I and thou. If thou throw me, set me on thy steed and take all of us to thy booty; but if I throw thee, thou shalt become under my command. Swear this to me, for I fear thy treachery. Indeed it hath become a common saw, where perfidy is innate, there trust is a weakly mate. Now an thou wilt swear, I will return and draw near to thee and tackle thee." Answered Sharrkan, and indeed he lusted to seize her and said in his soul, "Truly she knoweth not that I am a champion of champions. Swear me by what oath thou wilt and by what thou deemest most binding, and I will not approach thee with aught till thou hast made thy preparation and sayest, 'Draw near that I wrestle with thee.' If thou throw me, I have money wherewithal to ransom myself; and if I throw thee, 'twill be booty, and booty enough for me." Rejoined the damsel, "I am content herewith;" and Sharrkan was astounded at her words and said, "And by the truth of the Apostle (whom Allah bless and keep!) I too am content on the other part." Then said she, "Swear to me by Him who sprite in body dight and dealt laws to rule mankind aright, that thou wilt not offer me aught of violence save by way of wrestling; else mayst thou die without the pale of Al Islam." Sharrkan replied, "By Allah, were a Kazi to swear me, even though he were a Kazi of the Kazis, he would not impose upon me such an oath as this." Then he sware to her by all she named and tied his steed to a tree. But he was drowned in the sea of thought, saying in himself, "Praise be to Him who fashioned her from dirty water." Then he girt himself and made ready for wrestling and said to her, "Cross the stream to me." But she replied, "It is not for me to come over to thee. If thou wilt pass thou over here to me." "I cannot do that," quoth he, and quoth she, "O boy, I will come across to thee." So she tucked up her skirts and leaping,